Charming was capable of walking the ever-thin line between confidence and cockiness. While many would let his birthday shenanigans get to their head, he played it off like it never happened. There was no reason to soil anyone's name in an effort to gain notoriety at the behest of someone else's fortune. While he was braggadocious, his class and zeal were passed down from his father. You see, Cesar grew up a man of minimal means. He sought a better future for himself and moved from Rome to the US after seeing a war-torn Europe. Mussolini made no sense to him. While he was building the country back up after World War I, he sensed that his quest for power was veiled in bringing others down rather than uplifting humanity. In 1935, he saw Hitler's rise. He took it as a true threat to liberty and decided it was time to get out of Dodge. The US was a land of opportunity and freedom, making it the perfect place to start over. The hustle and bustle of New York absolutely blew his mind. He didn't have much more than a little bit of coin, but was a sharp man capable of seeing a way to maximize his money. While he thought he would be welcomed with open arms, the same systemic racism was happening in the US. It made no sense to him. Italians hated the Irish, Jews disliked the Pollocks, and everyone trampled all over the Chinese, and even more so the Negroes. The melting pot of America was just a tamer version of the vitriol being spewed by the leaders of a land he had left. Being Italian in America at that time had some clout, so he benefited. In essence, it was a form of what we would call today white privilege. One fateful day, when he was shining shoes on the corner, a young man by the name of Carlo decided his shoes needed some pizzazz. He was decked to the nines with a fancy custom Italian suit and genuine leather loafers to match. Julius tried to start some simple conversation, but as he began to speak, another man approached and started rattling off to him in Italian. It appeared to be nothing more than a simple conversation, but he overheard them talking about fixing some sort of boxing match. Undeterred, Julius focused on the task at hand and never made it apparent he understood a lick of what was being discussed. As his job had come to an end, Carlo asked young Julius in English, "Do you know anywhere I can find a quality meal?" Julius responded in Italian, "You see that shop right there on the corner? They serve some of the finest Italian cuisine. It's as if you never left home." Carlo tossed him $1, well more than the cost for such a service, and told him to pack his stuff and accompany him for lunch. While Julius may have been a simple shoe shiner, he was built like an ox. Growing up on the streets of Rome, he would tussle on a regular basis. He never fought for fun, but rather to protect those in need. This man hated bullies. It bothered him to his core. At 12, fate had come his way and he was able to join a local boxing gym. While he never possessed the talent to become someone truly great, he was a local legend in his hometown. Carlo recognized his hulking size, impeccable attention to detail, and most importantly, his Italian heritage. Over lunch, the two reminisced about growing up in Italy. They discussed the beauty of its land and their longing for home-cooked, authentic cuisine. It was as if two long-lost brothers had met after years of being apart, and Carlo asked Julius if he wanted to make some real money. It was June 19th, 1936, and that night Joe Louis was to fight Max Schmeling at Yankees Stadium. Joe was a clear favorite, and this was a fight of a Negro versus a German. Everyone and their mother knew Joe was going to dominate this bout. Julius had one job, and it was to protect the Gambino crew from being robbed. The amount of money being bet on Joe was a small fortune, and Gambino was taking all the action. At the time, it made no sense to Julius. Why would Carlo take all the action on Schmeling when he was a 10-to-1 underdog? That's the moment he remembered the conversation he had overheard while performing his spit shine. Was the great Joe Louis about to throw a fight against one of Hitler's henchmen? Boy, does the mob know exactly how to shock the world. A couple of hours after the fight, the Gambino boys were celebrating their victory at a local bar. They were the only non-Germans enjoying the victory. Carlo pulled Julius aside and gave him a fat stack of cash. He thanked him for his protection and knew that without him they would have been robbed blindly. There was free-flowing booze all night long, and eventually a bulky black man kicked the door down at the bar. He was fuming and charging in Carlo's direction. Julius always noticed the small things and immediately intervened. To his surprise, it was the great Joe Louis himself, who looked nothing like a man that just suffered a 12th round knockout. Joe was on fire and demanded to speak. Carlo wanted none of it, but Julius escorted the both of them to the back room. "I'm never throwing a goddamn fight for you again, Carlo. I give two shits that you're the mob. The money isn't worth my pride." Langston fucking Hughes was there, and the look on his face after my defeat made me realize I just put our people back for years to come. Carlo took a deep breath and with a calculated response stated, "No one comes at Carlo Gambino like that, not even a legendary boxer. You better choose your next words wisely." Before saying his next words, he had remembered the pact he made with Carlo earlier, and in Italian he calmly stated, "Carlo, listen, today has been one hell of a day. We made out like bandits. And while I know you want him to throw another fight, let this man have his dignity. He's earned it. He represents the American dream, and just like us, fighting for his people." Carlo's glare was intense. He stared right into the soul of Julius. With a deep, agitated exhale, he pulled a wad of cash out of his pocket, handed it to Joe and said, "You're free from your contract. It's time for you to become the best fighter in the world." Joe looked at Julius with calm nerves, a simple head nod in admiration, and left without another word uttered from his mouth. Fun fact, a couple of years later, Joe redeemed himself against Schmeling and only had 2 other losses on his record, one of them against the great Rocky Marciano. Julius just checked a mob boss on his first day of employment and gained a seat at the head of the table. That's the kind of man he was. Over the years, he gained a relationship with folks from all creeds and came to realize the only race that exists is the human race. Everything else was just white noise designed to separate humanity. Next time on The Truth Behind the Tales, will Snow White finally meet her prince? Will Doc get some answers? Or will Vegas get the best of them all?